Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is a video to compare two large, ergonomic and glorious mice, both wireless, the ASUS ROG Gladius III and the Corsair Sabre RGB Pro wireless. Now these are two interesting mice which have a similar sort of shape and layout, and therefore make them comparable in my mind. And when I went to review the Sabre Pro wireless recently, it made me think of the Gladius III, so this is a video to compare the two and talk to you about the differences between them. I have unboxed and reviewed them separately with a lot more in-depth look at each mouse and its accompanying software, so be sure to check out the links in the description to find out more about that. When I talk to you about the differences and what I like and don't like about them, what you'll see is they're quite similar, both with USB-C connectivity, both with 26,000 max DPI, both with pretty decent battery life and specs. The ROG Gladius III, for example, is capable of up to 85 hours of battery life on Bluetooth and 55 hours over 2.4 gigahertz, whereas the Corsair Sabre RGB Pro wireless can manage 90 hours on Bluetooth and 60 hours using the Slipstream wireless dongle. So both have multiple connection options with USB-C cable, 2.4 gigahertz wireless dongle, and Bluetooth connectivity. Both have two side buttons and both have an interesting switch setup. So the Corsair Sabre RGB Pro has a zero gap design with quick strike switches using Omron setup to give you a really quick and accurate delivery of your clicks. But the Gladius III is interesting because it has a push socket swappable design with its switches that I'll show you in a second. The Sabre Pro has some very slick PTFE feet on the underside and is very agile with up to a 2000 Hz polling rate and a really good response. It weighs in at 79 grams, which is 10 grams lighter than the Gladius III. So it's not particularly heavy and it's not really light either. I've seen lighter mice, but it's certainly a comfortable, flexible and agile one in the hand. One thing that I will note though is it doesn't have a particularly floppy or lightweight or braided USB-C cable, which is an unusual choice. It's just this rubber affair, kind of boring and surprising from Corsair as well actually. On the underside you have a button to switch between wireless, wired and Bluetooth modes, or just to turn it off, and a profile switching button. You can store up to 5 different profiles that are programmed within Corsair's IQ software on the onboard memory. Once the mouse is plugged in, you can save those, so you can set up macros and different button customization, sniper modes and things like that, and then set it into the mouse memory, which is pretty neat. Now the ROG Gladius III is also interesting in a number of different ways. You'll notice both these mice have DPI switching buttons on top, both have side buttons, both have profile switching buttons on the underside, both have the wonderful PTFE slick feet on the underside as well. As I said, the Gladius III is a touch heavier at 89 grams, but it does offer Bluetooth, wireless and wired connectivity with 6 programmable buttons. But what is the main highlight of this mouse is the ability to take it apart yourself really easily, and then it has a push-fit socket design with switches, so you can replace the left and right switches, and they actually include 2 different sorts in the box, optical and standard mechanical switches that can be changed out really easily without any need for soldering or desoldering, which is really neat. So this speaks to the longevity of this mouse and the options to change the switches in future, to either customize them or replace them if you start experiencing double click issues, which is obviously a bonus. Another highlight here is you'll see that you also have access to the battery. So if the battery starts to be problematic over time, in a year or two, you find that it's just not holding charge anymore, you can open the mouse up and you can change it out. So that's pretty wonderful as well. One of the other things you'll see here is the RGB lighting, but this push-fit socket design is actually capable of accepting 2 different pin setups, so you can either have 3-pin or 5-pin switches. So this gives you access to a lot more switches. You'll see there's Omron and ROG ones included in the box. You actually have an option to either change them out for your personal preference or to just simply have spares ready for when things start to turn sour, as they might do over time. The Sabre Pro obviously doesn't have those swappable switches, but what it does have is a zero gap design with these pre-tensioned buttons And it also delivers a really comfortable and quick actuation. One of the things I really like about this mouse is the sort of matte finish that it has to it. It's especially prominent on the left and right buttons. And you can really feel a sort of semi-rough texture along the side, but also on the top. So it's easy to grip onto. It's also a largish mouse that fits nicely in the hand. Now this mouse has two RGB lighting zones. Basically the Corsair logo and then the little LED indicator on the top, which lets you know which DPI level you're on, and that obviously changes when you press the DPI button. One of the things I really like about it is not only the click response from the buttons, which is very satisfying and agile, the weight and the slickness of it, but also those large buttons on the side, which not only jut out, but are easy to feel with the thumb. I've used a lot of mice recently which have buttons that are far too recessed and not easy to feel. These ones are easy to feel and easy to press, and obviously easy to customize as well within Corsair's IQ software. This has multiple DPI levels that are programmable within IQ, up to 26,000 max DPI, and you can also set a sniper mode, which is an ultra low DPI level that you can assign to a specific button. The Gladius III obviously is flexible depending on your button setup, but again has a very similar sort of design in terms of the click response from it. A very comfortable fit, very agile and responsive, and it also has nice large buttons on the side. One of the things you'll note is it has a really interesting RGB glow from the mouse wheel, which gives a kind of opaque finish to it. It looks really nice in my mind, and it also has some RGB lighting on the left hand side with the etching and lettering on there as well, which also acts as a sort of textured grip. There's also some texturing on the other side, so it sits in the hand nicely, and that was the main reason I wanted to compare these two, is just the sort of shape, size and design and comfort of them. They're quite comparable in their setup, and they have been two of my favorite mice for that reason. I really like the way they push up into your palm. If you use a palm grip, you'll find these particularly comfortable and capable. USB-C charging obviously makes things a lot more convenient when it comes to plugging them in and charging, but both have a reasonable battery life. You will note, I'll leave all the specifications in the description, and what you'll see is that both claim a longer battery life over Bluetooth. Obviously you get a better lower latency response from the 2.4 GHz dongle though, so you're better off using that, and if you want to save battery, just turn the RGB lighting off. The RGB lighting on the Corsair Sabre is not particularly interesting. It's a bit boring in my mind. You don't have any on the mouse wheel, and really it's not much in general, whereas the wired version of this mouse oddly had more RGB and was better, but I suppose you don't really want loads of RGB on a wireless mouse, so it saves battery that way. You can see a close-up look at that zero gap design here. Basically on the underside of that, the switches are designed to basically click immediately as soon as you press the button, so you don't need to worry about necessarily resting your fingers on there and them accidentally actuating, but it just does a really satisfying click response from it, and it actuates really nicely. So what you're seeing is two comparable mice, yet are quite different under the hood, with the Gladius III being a lot more customizable and potentially having a lot more longevity to it thanks to the swappable switches, the potential for replacing the battery and more, and also a bit more in terms of the styling. However, I don't think the Corsair mouse should be overlooked because it has a lot of good solid specifications, comfort and overall design aesthetics, plus it delivers a really good response for gaming. I found it particularly enjoyable. It's one of my favorite wireless mice recently, alongside the Gladius III, which is both a looker and a great gaming device. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Don't forget to check out the reviews to find out more and to see an in-depth look at the software. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions. Thanks for watching. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful, interesting, hilarious, or otherwise. Take a look at these other videos that I think you might find interesting as well. And have a look at the description for links and other information you might find useful. Click that join button to see the benefits of being a member of my YouTube channel. And most importantly, have a great life.